everyone. Thank you for joining not only those that are here with us tonight at our June Council meeting, but also our listeners at home. So could I please ask everybody to be upstanding for our prayer and welcome to country. We ask for guidance and blessing on this council. May the true needs and well-being of our communities be our concern. Help us who serve as leaders to remember that all our decisions are made in the best interests of the people, culture and the environment of the Corangamite Shire. Amen. We acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land around Corangamite Shire, the Eastern Maar and Warrawong people. We pay our respects to all Aboriginal leaders and peoples past and present. Thank you. Just before we get into apology, actually no, we might actually do apologies first, so it makes a little bit of sense as to why the Deputy Mayor is sitting in the Mayor's seat. So I'll hand over to Mr Andrew Mason.
Thank you. Through you, Deputy Mayor. Our Mayor is obviously an apology for tonight's meeting, so I know that she's watching on with interest, but can unfortunately not join us at tonight's meeting.
Yep. Thank you, Ms CEO. I'll just introduce our councils and staff. So we have our Director of Sustainable Development, Ms Justine Linley, Director of Works and Services, Ms Brooke Love, Councillor Jamie Vogels, Councillor Kate Macon, and to my right we have our CEO, Mr Andrew Mason, Councillor Laurie Hickey, Councillor Geraldine Canady, Councillor Nick Coles, and our Director of Corporate and Community Services, Mr David Ray. And I, as your Deputy Mayor, Jo Beard, and acting as Mayor tonight. So can I ask if there's any declarations of conflict of interest, please, councillors? Nope.
So, no. Deputy Mayor, there's been no declarations of conflict of interest lodged with me tonight.
Thank you. And you have been provided with the minutes from the previous meeting. Can I have someone please move that recommendation? Councillor Cole, seconded by Councillor Macon. Any comments or queries, councillors, to those minutes? If not, we'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? Against? That motion is carried. We'll now move on to deputations and presentations, and we do have some members of our public here tonight with us for our deputations. I'll ask our first agenda item for 9.12 for being the lease agreement for the Cobton Racecourse Reserve Precinct. I'll ask Mr Frank Martin please to come to the lectern. Thank you.
Good evening, Madam Deputy Mayor, councillors and officers. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm here tonight to speak in relation to the proposal to enter into new leases, as has been mentioned, item 9.12, for the Cobton Miniature Railway and the Cobton Rotary Mini Golf at the Cobton Racecourse Reserve Precinct. I'm joined in this presentation by Hayden Howard, sitting over here. He's President of the South Western Model Engineers, and Sharon Howard, Secretary. They're known as the SWME for short. The proposal for new leases arises out of an agreement between the SWME and Cobton Rotary to separate the management of the two facilities. This agreement has been mutually negotiated, and we will remain good neighbours, working for the benefit and enjoyment of the community and the region at large. We thought this would be a good time to have a quick retrospective of how this facility developed. Sometimes simple ideas have a way of developing into the most amazing outcomes. We think that the current Cobton Miniature Railway and Mini Golf Park is an outstanding example of this. You have in front of you a set of pictures which roughly follow the presentation I'm going to make. Please don't get too far ahead of me. The idea of a miniature railway was hatched at a Rotary meeting in May 1993, just 29 years ago. The brainchild of John Wiggins and Alan Hart, it quickly grew legs, and a formal presentation to the Heytesbury Shire Council was made, resulting in the issue of a planning permit from Heytesbury Shire on the 23rd of September 1993, only 4 months after it arose from the Rotary meeting. The site was a treeless, wind-blown, boggy, grassed area, as the early pictures show. And what a comparison with today. Community support for the project was enormous. Voluntary involvement skyrocketed. All the earth-moving machinery moving onto the site to excavate dams and build the embankment. Concreting followed by bricklaying for the site, for the station building. Supply of the bricks themselves, services to the site and much more, all being provided free of charge. Notably, for those items for which payment was necessary, the Shire at the time advanced an interest-free loan to enable the work to progress speedily. The miniature railway was officially opened in June 1994, so less than 9 months after the issue of the planning permit. It was still a relatively simple loop, but brought regular enjoyment to the hundreds of people who came out to ride the trains each month. Who, even then, could have imagined how this project would take hold of communities? Not only the Cobton community itself, but also the miniature railway community. Within the first 4 to 5 years, at least 3 families moved to Cobton because it had a miniature railway. One bit of early excitement occurred when a light plane idling up at the Cobton airstrip decided to visit the railway. It headed east down the airport road, did a quick lefty at the entrance into the railway park and ran straight into the brand new toilet block, which had just been completed that week. They say any publicity is good publicity. Well, that made all the news media at the time. Development followed rapidly. The original Cobton railway station building was moved from its location in what's now the industrial estate to become the Cobton North Railway Station up by the main dam. A signal box was built because of the increasing complexity of track work with points and crossovers. Then the SWME were awarded the honour of hosting the 1997 Australian Association of Live Steamers annual convention, the first time the convention had been held outside an Australian capital city. How could this be done in a place like Cobton? Well, it was held at Easter 1997. The whole community got behind this. All meals on site in marquees, catered by church groups and service clubs, meeting rooms and camping at Cobton Technical School, and organised bus tours around the region. 190 delegates who came to Cobton voted it the best ever convention. They had brought nearly 100 locomotives to Cobton and come from every state of Australia, as well as New Zealand and the UK. Quite an achievement. And now, up till now, 4 conventions in total have now been held at Cobton, the latest being held in 2016. You'd think that holding a convention was enough excitement for 1 year, but not so. Rotary, with the SWME support, decided the community would benefit from something to do locally on New Year's Eve. So the New Year's Eve fireworks spectacular, or as it became known in latter years, the extravaganza, began on the 31st of December 97, and by 1999 was reported in the media as having an attendance of 5,000 to see the new year in. This event then continued for the next 19 years until 2016. In 1998, Corangamite Council approved further development of a tea room, miniature golf course, carriage shed and playground. These plans were implemented with assistance of a further council interest-free loan, and the tea rooms, known as the buffet car, and the mini golf course were both opened at Easter 2000. But the railway development was still not finished. The dream had always included a trestle bridge, and now it was time to move forward with that. A replica of the famed Curtis Trestle Bridge was constructed across the top dam and became another exciting feature of the railway, particularly as it gave that clackety-clack as you crossed the bridge, and that was a special feature, particularly with children. What was still lacking? Plans had shown a tunnel would be part of the overall development, but there were regulatory difficulties with tunnels. Initially, an Enviro tunnel was built. Trains passed through it as they left the main station, but it wasn't a real tunnel. Then there were some very large culverts donated from a job for which they couldn't be used. and they were large enough to overcome the regulatory difficulties. So finally, the engineers and the volunteers could build a proper tunnel to be proud of, and the railway was complete, we think. So the later pictures in your pack show just how much beautification of the whole area has taken place and how different it is from the early wasteland. Back then to the issue of the new leases. Both the SWME and Rotary believe the new management structure will be largely invisible to the general public. Both clubs are committed to the ongoing success of the two different facilities, railway and mini golf. Each club can focus on a single element of the park. Of course, COVID-19 has brought its challenges, but it's also brought some unexpected outcomes. More frequent opening of each facility, regulated attendances by a booking system, and more manageable operations. It remains a place of fun and laughter and of tranquil beauty as well. I hope this retrospective has given you a greater understanding of the facility the Shire has in this park and the ongoing commitment of the two clubs to its continuation under the new arrangements. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Frank. Okay. In relation to agenda item 9.1 being the community vision, I'll now call up representatives from the Corangamite Shire Citizens Jury, and first up we have Anne Dumpsey. Please, Anne, if you could come to the lectern. Or you've got a different order? So Kate Leslie?
Kate Leslie, yeah. Hello councillors, deputy mayor and officers. I'm Kate Leslie from Timboon. I live on a 10-acre farmlet, work part-time for Landcare, and before COVID facilitated a community singing group called Port Sings. As you know, the Citizens Assembly, tasked with the job of writing the Community Vision 2040, met over 25 hours over Zoom, over 5 sessions in March and May this year. We refreshed our critical thinking skills, considered the community submissions, deliberated, decided which topics we wanted to hear more about, heard from 5 invited experts, deliberated some more, then co-wrote the document, testing and retesting until 80% of us were okay with all of it. In fact, like a lot of it was, just went through 100%. It was exhausting, to be honest, but it was really good. And as Andrew Mason said, addressing us at the outset, it's really good to know what the community are thinking. So thank you for providing us with the experience of being part of a Citizens Assembly. I'm sure I'll remember it for the rest of my life. I won't read out our Community Vision 2040 because it's pretty comprehensive, but I would like to draw your attention to guiding principles across our 4 themes. We wrote, above all, the environmental challenges need to be front of mind in all decisions we face. In restoration and regeneration of ecosystems, we need to be guided by the wisdoms of Indigenous people. I'll hand you over to Andrew now. Thank you.
Thank you, Kate. Mr. Andrew Lang?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Thanks, and Kate's given us the intro, and it actually was a really interesting process, and most of the way, I mean, the whole thing brought together about between 20 and 35 quite opinionated people who were committed to the community, and so we didn't necessarily agree on a lot of things. Some things we were quite split on, but in the end, we came to that point, as she said, where 80% of us were agreeing. My particular part that I'm talking about is the theme 1 of future-proofing, and I've been involved in this sort of area a bit too with the Grampians region. So there are similarities. How do how do we adapt in this area? I'm a farmer from the northern part of the Shire. We've seen rainfall go down, summer rainfall maybe go up, so the sort of part of the rain that is operating over winter, spring is getting even less. We're seeing the tendency for longer fire seasons, more difficult springtime finishing of crops, higher evaporation rates. And so it all comes down to what the Shire itself can do with trying to adapt, introduce things that are going to help us adapt to these, either as businesses or as communities. I could say I used to be a climate skeptic. Now, from what I've seen overseas and within Australia, I'm pretty convinced that it's a serious issue and we have no way that we can ignore it any longer. The Shire really can become carbon neutral for energy, but that's not going to make an enormous difference. But we have no choice but to introduce all these adaptation measures. The information that came out in the climate vision actually is the final sort of summary, the condensation. There is actually a lot more material that we covered. There are a lot of points that got refined down and simplified, if you like. So there may be some scope for the Shire to look at the earlier part, which had a lot more detail. I think that's probably my section. I'll hand to Annie to go on to the theme number 2. Thanks.
Thank you, Andrew. Anne Dumsney?
Yep. Hi, I'm Annie Dumsney and I'd like to take the time to discuss about our theme, People, Livability and Lifestyle. We, the communities of Corangamite Shire, want the Shire to have no one left behind. We want our elders to be respected. After all, they're the ones that got us here. They need better senior citizens facilities and the ability to get to the essential services that they require. We need better study options within our Shire to help retain our youth within the Shire. We need better public transport for all. Currently, there is very limited and sometimes only once a week, which doesn't really get you very far. If you've got an appointment, say, in Warrnambool, how can you get there if you've got no car or have no ability to drive like many of our seniors? We have been enjoying the events that our council and community groups have been running for us, and we all look forward to seeing more of them. We love the way our towns look and they feel. We hope that in the future they will continue to remain with a nice country theme. We live here because we love the way it is. If we wanted to live in a town that looked like a city like Melbourne or Geelong, we'd move there. We need better healthcare access. We understand that it isn't your job to give that to us, but we would really appreciate it if you continue to push the government to provide better healthcare options. In particular, we need specialists. We don't have specialists within our Shire, and therefore we have to go to other cities, sometimes hours away, to be able to access these. Myself, like many others in the Corangamite Shire, have a heart condition. I have to travel to Geelong to be able to access these services. For me, it's not too bad. I can drive. For many others, particularly in the ageing population that we have, they don't have ways to get there, and this is becoming an increasing burden within our Shire. I'd like to thank you for your time. Good day.
Thanks, Annie. And our final ask, Nicole Ross. Thank you, Nicole.
Hello, I'm Nicole Ross. Tonight, I have the pleasure of talking about the fourth and final theme in the 2040 Vision document, Prosperity and Innovation. This is a section of the report that I can relate to on a more personal level. My family and I moved back to Corangamite 5 years ago. We purchased a rundown business in one of the smallest communities in the Shire. Although we had some success in turning the business around, Due to COVID and small town politics, we are now just another closed shop front. Our story is not unique, and one that I'm sure many of you have witnessed in lots of locations. Once businesses close, it's very difficult for them to reopen. This has significant flow-on effects, particularly in our smaller towns. The closure of our businesses, no matter how big or small, creates one less reason for people to stop and visit our communities. Ultimately, this results in less money circulating in the Shire's economy, less local employment opportunities, less support for things such as other local businesses and schools, and a perceived higher risk when it comes to innovation at a local level. I think it's fair to say that this was a chapter that the citizens' jury struggled with when it came to writing, not because of its lack of importance in the overall vision, but because of the strong links and overlap with the other themes already discussed. Most of the discussion circled around the notion of needing to move away from being passive and reactive. The feedback through community submissions very much suggested that we want to be a part of a Shire that is proactive and forward-thinking. We don't want to be constantly looking at our neighbouring shires, feeling like we're behind. We want our Shire to feel more confident in thinking big and taking more of a build it and they will come approach. With limited opportunities for housing development in our smaller towns, we need to be innovative and create other reasons for people to visit and explore our towns. The opportunities for this are many and varied, giving us much hope for the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, councillors, that's it for deputations. Then we'll now move on to, we have no committee reports. We'll move on to our planning reports. So item 8.1, planning permit application PP 2021064, use of the land for sale of liquor, packaged liquor licence at 46 to 48 High Street, Terang. Ms Lindley, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. The purpose of this report is to consider a planning permit application for a packaged liquor licence at 46 to 48 High Street, Terang. The property is currently occupied by Greaves's Fruit and Veg. The application was received by Council on the 22nd of April 2021 and public notice of the application was given. One objection has been received. Key issues raised in the objection can be summarised as follows. Impact on amenity and increased potential for nuisance in the surrounding environment, likelihood of misuse and abuse of alcohol and inconsistency with the harm minimisation objective of the Liquor Control Reform Act 1998. This report provides an assessment of the planning application and officers recommend that the application for use of the land for packaged liquor sales be supported. The proposal does provide an acceptable response to the Corangamite planning scheme, including the purpose and decision guidelines at clause 52.27 and the strategic direction and policy of the planning policy framework. The proposed packaged liquor licence will contribute to the existing use of the site to retail local produce and will not adversely impact the amenity of the local area. The packaged liquor sales on site will also support local producers and the tourism industry within the Shire, consistent with our local policy, and provide another market entry option for these small producers. Officers recommend that Council issue a notice of decision to grant a permit subject to conditions. Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor.
Thanks, Ms Lindley. Councillors, the recommendation is before you on page 14. Can I have someone move that recommendation, please? Councillor Canady, do I have a seconder? Councillor Hickey, thank you. Councillor Canady.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I fully support this application to retail specialty liquor products. Greaves's Fruit and Veg is a flourishing business in Terang, which specifically targets and offers boutique and specialty products previously not available locally. This business is attracting a broader consumer base to Terang. Clearly, they're meeting a market in Terang and district that would have once gone to Warrnambool or elsewhere for specialty regional products. This application is for a packaged liquor licence to sell boutique liquor products and targets a specific clientele. The products are to be sold during normal business hours, carried away, and will not be consumed on the premises. I think the proposal is certainly compatible with other nearby liquor outlets in Terang. It also contributes to our existing tourism foodie trail and will support regional producers. We really want to get behind businesses like this that are trying something new and bringing new customer base into our towns. The objection purports a negative impact on the amenity of the surrounding area and nuisance. The applicant would no more contribute to these concerns than would the objector. I think the objection is unfounded. The application can only be positive in the scope of product offerings in Terang District, and I fully support the recommendation as put.
Thank you, Councillor Canady. Councillor Hickey, any further words?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I think it's a great opportunity for local craft breweries and smaller wineries to be able to showcase their wares in an environment that would perhaps not be offered by the general supermarket fraternity. So for that very reason, I think it's a progressive step.
Thank you, Councillor Hickey. Councillors, are there any further questions? Any further comments? If not, we'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? Against? Carried. I will move on to item 8.2, which is the Bostocks Creek Solar Farm Ministerial Planning Permit application. It will be Corangamite Shire's submission. Ms Lindley, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. The Minister for Planning has given notice of planning permit application PA 200975 for the Bostocks Creek Solar Farm. The Minister in this occasion is responsible authority for the application, not the Council, by way of Amendment VC 161 introduced in September 2019. The proposal is for the installation of solar array areas with a 5 megawatt installed capacity comprising photovoltaic panels pile driven into the ground with a 4 metre height, one internal power conversion unit in a containerised format incorporating inverters, control room and switch rooms. All of this facility will be located on a 14.7 hectare site at Bostocks Creek. This report presents a draft council submission on the application to forward to the Minister for the Council's consideration. Council has made recent submissions to State Government regarding renewable energy planning and development in response to the State Government's Renewable Energy Zone Development Plan Directions paper earlier in the year, and has also made a submission on the separate application, which is also before the Minister for Planning, for the proposed Buka solar farm. This report follows these submissions and considers consistent themes and issues, including how the Bostocks Creek proposal contributes to or detracts from the new energy production in the Shire, Council's strategic economic focus on agriculture, the need for better state and regional planning so that the cumulative impact of renewable energy projects is better known, the lack of community engagement, landscape and visual impact, fire risk, hydrology and drainage, road and traffic management, community benefit and the impacts of project decommissioning. Councillors, although Council is not the responsible authority in this application, the draft submission and officer's recommendation is before you for consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms Lindley. Councillors, the recommendation is there. Do I have someone move that motion for that recommendation, please? Councillor Hickey, do I have a seconder? Councillor Canady. Councillor Hickey, thanks.
Thanks, Deputy Mayor. I think this submission is consistent with other submissions that the Shire has, that the Council has considered, and pertaining to the Bostocks Creek Solar Farm. Won't open for me. It's consistent with the use of agricultural land for what is determined, and whilst we all support the use of renewable energies, I think the submission needs to go through to the Minister, stating our position.
Thank you, Councillor Hickey. Councillor Canady.
sorry, these glasses. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Yes, I do believe this is a very important submission for us to make. There is a huge shortfall in strategic planning and inadequate engagement by state government with rural councils, the agricultural industry and communities to identify the most appropriate locations for renewable development. We're seeing an ad hoc planning regime influenced largely by the existing grid connection opportunities resulting in heavy concentration of projects and cumulative impact emerging in the southwest. The current renewable energy planning poses very real risks to rural communities in relation to proper and full community consultation. This has not occurred with the BOSTOCKS Creek proposal. The accountability by the proponents on the impacts of these projects, increased fire hazard, industrialisation and fragmentation of rural landscape, cumulative impact decommissioning, amenity of rural landscape and visual impact, livability and community cohesion. The importance of prime agricultural land is often overlooked or ignored. So much of it is being built up and removed from agricultural production. We need to preserve and protect it. In Karangamite, agriculture provides more than 33% of our employment and generates $785 million economic output annually. Whatever our future energy needs look like, we still need to be fed and we still need to be clothed. And it's vital we designate and protect areas of strategic agricultural importance to Victoria. We desperately need a proper, widely consulted and detailed strategic plan for renewable development in Victoria with adequate controls to address strategic land use planning and the impacts in regional areas. The submission tabled addresses in detail many of these points that I've mentioned related to the solar and specifically related to the solar project proposed at BOSTOCKS Creek, including a flawed traffic management assessment and, of great concern, the failure of the applicant to prepare a fire risk assessment. The submission also highlights the vital role agriculture plays in the Shire and its strategic priority in Corangamite. It also identifies Corangamite's existing gas production industry and the advantages for blue and green hydrogen opportunities in this Shire. So we're not averse to green energy developments, but I think we need to be strategic about what happens here in Corangamite Shire. I support the recommendation to provide the submission to the Minister, and let's hope he is amenable to the concerns that we have raised in that.
Thank you, Councillor Canady. Council, is there any further comments? Just before we put that to the vote, I'd also like to make mention that it is disappointing after the regard we've made to previous renewable energy applications and where this council sits in regards to the strategic planning, and that we have to be the voice for our community because the consultation process, the engagement from a lot of these companies just aren't good enough. It's certainly noted here that there was consultation or engagement with a radius of 3 kilometres of where this proposed solar farm is, but that's not the broader community, and that's the issue we have, is that it just doesn't impact those neighbouring the property. This is a whole of community that potentially have something that they require to say. Disappointed again, the fire risk assessment, there was complete disregard, knowing where we stand on this matter with previous applications. Even though we aren't the authority who makes the decision on this, we do speak on behalf of our communities, and we know that we're in a fire-prone area and that fire risk is great, and that our local brigades, I know for a fact that they haven't been engaged on this project, and they're the ones who are potentially the first responders if there's something that happens out there, and there's specific training and qualifications that needs to occur for people to respond to these type of industrial fires if, heaven forbid, something does happen out there. So it does need to be held in higher account when it comes to these type of applications, that their due diligence needs to be paid by these companies. So again, I'll reiterate that fire risk assessment is important when it comes to anything around our region. Certainly fully supportive of the submission again of our planning department under our CEO have pulled together, very consistent with everything else that we've said in the past. And yeah, all we can do is continue to make submissions, and hopefully we will, as Councillor Kennedy said, the Minister will listen and things will be done in a more strategic manner going forward. Okay, councillors, we'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? Against? That motion is carried. We'll now move on to officer reports. Item 9.1, the 2040 Corangamite Community Vision. Ms Linley, thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. The purpose of this report is for Council to consider and adopt the 2040 Corangamite Community Vision, which describes the community's aspirations for the future of the municipality, elaborated in 4 themes, namely future-proofing, people, livability and lifestyle, and prosperity and innovation. Representatives of the Citizens' Jury have been in attendance at the Council meeting to present the report to Council, and without reiterating their excellent comments, I will, if I may, from an officer's perspective, thank them sincerely for their presentation and significant contribution. Copies of the vision document have been widely distributed and further community feedback has been sought. In addition to recommending the adoption of the vision, it is also proposed that the community members, and particularly those who committed considerable time and effort as members of Council's first Citizens' Jury or Citizens' Assembly, be congratulated and thanked for their work. The report's before you, Mayor and Councillors, Deputy Mayor and Councillors.
Thank you, Ms Linley. Councillors, the recommendation on page 26, can I ask someone move that recommendation, please? Looking. Thank you, Councillor Vogels, and seconded Councillor Cole. Thank you. Councillor Vogels.
Yeah, I'd like to go with the officer's recommendation that we adopt the 2040 Corangamite Community Vision. I think it aligns pretty well with our council vision. We read future-proofing, it's about people, it's about livability, it's about lifestyle, prosperity and innovation. That's what the Corangamite Shire is all about. It lines up extremely well with where we're going, and I think it's a good thing. So thank you very much for your time, and it looks like you're all there still putting in. So we'll probably hear a lot more from you guys in the future and the way we travel through as a Shire. So I'd like to accept the officer's recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Vogels. Councillor Cole.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. As Councillor Vogels so eloquently put, I agree completely that the Citizens Committee have done a wonderful job of putting together what I believe is a lot of the things that we've talked about in Council anyway, we've discussed and things, so they've reinforced all our views and helped us along a lot, so thank you very much. And these things are not easy to put together or come together with. There's a lot of work goes into them, and I congratulate them on that. Thank you very much. I recommend it too. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillors, any further comments? Councillor Hickey, thank you.
Thanks, Deputy Mayor. I'd just like to again extend my personal thanks to the members of the representatives of the Citizens' Jury, because I understand there was lots of Saturdays that were spent going through and formulating this particular document. It's an excellent document. It lines up very, very well with the vision that we've had input to, and so I congratulate you and thank you all very much for your contribution.
Thank you. And I'll also echo the thank yous while we're going, and I think I'm reflective of if our Mayor was present here tonight, she too would want me to pay our respects and say thank you to each and every one of those, I think 33 members that were present in the duration of the Citizens' Jury process, which was something new for obviously Corangamite Shire, let alone all councils to embark on in the way in which we did. But we thank you for the engagement, the feedback, the contribution, but also under, as Councillor Hickey just said, it was on weekends a lot of the time, and it wasn't in a normal open room situation, open forum, like so many times that we have that opportunity to spend with each other face to face. A lot of it was done online, and that is incredibly challenging, as we all know. So congratulations to each of you that have stuck it out and been able to come up with the fine document that you have. It is very parallel to our own council plan. We were probably that little step ahead of you in terms of us having to get the council plan to the table tonight as well. So it's not exactly the same, but there's a real true consistency around in where we're all thinking. There's opportunity for us through our annual action plan to be able to even have it even more in sync as the years go on over the next 4 years. So even though we may not have it exactly, aligned this very first year, there's certainly, an indication that we can into the future is refine where we're coming from and the actions in which this organisation will go in the future. But certainly thank you to everyone that was involved. Mr Moorfield, I can see you hiding behind the lectern there. Thank you for your time as the Shire officer that was involved with pulling this whole process together and the time that you've spent on that. Very much appreciated. So councillors, we'll put that to a vote. All those in favour? Against? That motion is clearly carried. So thank you again to everyone that was involved. Very much appreciated. We'll now move on to item 9.2, which is our council plan for 2021 to 2025. And that's to Mr Mason. Thank you.
Thank you through you, Madam Deputy Mayor. The council plan is one of the key strategic documents for the council. It sets out the strategic directions of the council over the next 4 years, and importantly is really the council's opportunity to develop the plan and set in motion the direction that they want to take. The plan that has been developed is based on 5 key themes. They are...
That's okay. We'll just keep going.
A connected community, a thriving community, a healthy, active and resilient community, improving our environment and community leadership. The draft council plan has been out for public consultation, and that consultation has been led by the Mayor. A number of submissions have been received, and these have resulted in some changes to the plan that are outlined in the report before you. The council plan also contains an annual action plan. Pleasingly, 2 of the proposed actions have already been completed, and that is with the funding for Scotts Creek Mobile Phone Tower has been announced, and the special charge scheme policy is up for adoption at tonight's meeting. It's therefore recommended that the annual action plan in relation to mobile phone towers, we move to advocacy for improvements at Nurit, and that the special charge scheme policy review be removed from the plan, noting that the council plan has strong commitments around particularly footpath construction. So, councillors, it's recommended that you adopt your council plan and just with noting those 2 minor changes to the annual action plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Mason. And councillors, it's not very often we have to change due to some significant windfalls with our council plans. That's always a good way to start off our new council plan as a council. So the recommendation is before you. Do I have someone move that recommendation, please? Councillor Canady, seconded by Councillor Hickey. Councillor Canady, thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I really love the mission statement in this council plan. We will foster opportunities, celebrate our identity and lifestyle, and provide high quality and responsive services. I think this really encapsulates the strategic objectives of this council and speaks well to all of our themes. Emphasis has been placed on digital and mobile phone connectivity, our roads and supply chains. These technologies and infrastructure, as we all know, are essential for development, for business and for jobs. A number of objectives have been outlined for economic development, and focus is on new residential land to meet the increased demand that we've been experiencing. Arts and culture are also in focus, with a plan to develop a Corangamite creative industries strategy. Arts and culture add enormously to our livability and the vibrancy of our community, and festivals can provide important economic stimulus. There are strategies to help business recovery in the COVID pandemic. In fact, some business development training workshops have already been conducted as part of this. An important item is the strategy to support young people to pursue a diverse range of further education opportunities. There's no doubt education is a key to better opportunity, and we want those opportunities to be available here in Corangamite for our young people. This plan has been in development since commencement of this council last October, and we've talked about it a lot, and a lot of ideas have been thrown about the room, and I'm pleased with the document that we've come up with. I think we've listened to our community. By response to submissions which activated some changes in each of the plan themes, through the deliberative community engagement undertaken by the Mayor through social media, meeting with the Youth Council and 3 town drop-ins. Also by reference to the community vision, which has been developed concurrently to inform and align our final draft. And I will say thank you to those people that were involved in creating that community vision. We're so grateful for it. These are the reasons our council plan is sensitive to and aligned with our community needs and aspirations. I think we've put together a realistic and achievable plan that speaks to the needs of a community that seeks to thrive. I support the recommendation to adopt the council plan and the annual action plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Canady. Councillor Hickey.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Look, this is the first real plan that I've been involved with through the time on this Shire and on this council, and I'd have to say that it's one of the more humbling experiences to have gone through with this plan. I think what we've come up with after a lot of deliberation is absolutely a wonderful document, and yeah, proud to be part of it.
Thank you, Councillor Hickey. Councillors, any further comments? No? Okay, thank you, councillors, and thank you for the process in which we went about doing this council plan. It's very relevant on the back of COVID particularly, and I think Councillor Canady certainly highlighted everything that was relevant, and we look forward to doing our best we can over the next 4 years and adapting the annual action plan in line with that as we need to. So councillors, we'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? Against? That motion's carried. Thank you, councillors. Councillors, I might just suspend standing orders just for a quick 1-minute break, if that's all right. Can I have a mover to suspend standing orders, please? Councillor Vogel, seconded by Councillor Canady. All those in favour? Against? That motion's carried. Thank you. We'll just take one quick break, if that's all right. Thank you, councillors. Can I just get someone to resume standing orders, please? Moved by Councillor Macon, seconded by Councillor Vogels. All those in favour? Against? And that motion's carried. Thank you. We'll now move on to the budget. So item 9.3, our budget for 2021-2022. Mr. Ray, thank you.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Deputy Mayor. Councillors, report for this item recommends the adoption of the 2021-2022 budget this evening. The draft budget was presented to and considered by Council at the May meeting, following which community feedback was then sought. Two responses from community members have been received during that feedback period, and the officer's assessment is provided in the report. During that period, Council was also advised it was unsuccessful in attracting state government funding for the Mockridge Park redevelopment. The project remains a viable proposition and has been scheduled for the 2022-2023 financial year. This is the only change to the draft budget. For 2021-2022, an operating surplus of 3.382 million has been budgeted with a capital works program of $17.4 million. A broad range of operating projects totalling $3.7 million is also included. There are a range of major projects, and with emphasis on being the commencement of the Port Campbell Town Centre upgrade of $5.3 million and almost $7 million investment in roads. The rates and charges for next financial year will account for around 46% of council revenue, and the underlying increase is in accordance with the state government rate cap of 1.5%. No new borrowings are proposed, and cash reserves continue to be maintained for strategic purposes. Most importantly, I think, councillors, is the budget maintains council's sound financial position, is balanced having regard to council's long-term financial plan and the key financial sustainability indicators. The budget also incorporates the commitments contained within the council plans, specifically the annual action plan, which you've just recently adopted. The budget includes all the statutory disclosures required under legislation and regulations, and it must be adopted by the 30th of this month, so a couple of days' time. Councillors, importantly, this is your budget and it's yours to adopt this evening. And so the recommendation is before you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Ray. Councillors, the recommendation on page 40. Do I have someone move the recommendation, please? Councillor Canady, seconded please by Councillor Macon. Thank you. Councillor Canady, thanks.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I actually spoke to the budget at some length last month before it went out to for public comment, and Mr Ray has described the important aspects of it tonight. And as he pointed out, it is council's budget, and you know, we've had a lot of input into this budget and its final draft, and I feel really comfortable with what we've come up with. I think it's got a really good balance with capital expenditure. There's still a strong focus on our core objectives as a council to provide you know, high-level services to the community. We have a good program of renewal and maintenance of assets, and we're very keen to maintain a strong financial position, and we're committed to these objectives, and Corangamite has always had a good track record with these responsibilities. So I'm supportive of the recommendation. It's a very long recommendation, I noticed too, and lots of parts to it. But I'm proud of this budget. I think it's been put together very well.
Thank you, Councillor Canady. Councillor Macon.
Thank you, and through you, Deputy Mayor. I'd just like to echo Councillor Canady's words and thoughts. It's great that the council stays in a sound financial position and with a strong commitment to the high standards of services, which in turn supports the community and the whole Shire. So thank you, Deputy Mayor. I'm quite happy to receive this budget and support the recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Macon. Councillor Cole, did you want to say a few words?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. I'll just reiterate the same words that the other previous councillors have said, and I think we've got to thank our previous councillors and the council before for getting us into this financial position of being very lucky, very fortunate that we are not in debt and have a good, strong financial position, which I think is a great way to run a business, which the council is. It gives us scope to do a lot of work, doing a lot of what would be called the bog standard work, I suppose, just fixing things, the basic infrastructure and keeping it up and running, which is very, very important around the district. So thank you. I have no trouble.
Thank you, Councillor Cole. Councillors, I just want to congratulate each and every one of you. I'm trying to channel Mayor Strain right here now, but I think safe to say that both her and I's being previous councils and obviously Councillor Canady, who joined us last year, but I think we've pulled together a really good budget with the thanks of the officers. It's a significant process to go through, and particularly so early on in your council term, but it's the best way to get to know what it is we do here on behalf of our ratepayers, and it's such a broad piece of work too. The amount of services, the amount of projects, it's a huge delivery, and it's a real credit to the entire organisation. I'm really glad, Councillor Cole, you mentioned the previous councils who helped get us into the financial position that we're in to enable us to do what we need to do. So it's great that that was acknowledged. But I just wanted to congratulate you, my fellow councillors, for getting through this first budget. As I said, it's really broad. There's something in there for everybody. And more importantly, we take care of what we've got, and as well as bringing in some new capital projects, which is really exciting for the people of the Corangamite Shire. So I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? Against? That motion is carried. Item 9.4, the Revenue and Rating Plan for 2021 to 2025. Mr. Ray, thanks.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Deputy Mayor. The report recommends Council adopt the Revenue Rating Plan 2021-2025 as attached to your agenda, and that's in accordance with the Local Government Act, a new requirement under the new 2020 Act. The draft plan was presented and considered by Council at the May meeting, and a proof of public feedback. 2 responses were received, and the officer's assessment is provided in the report, and no changes to the draft plan are proposed following that public feedback period. Importantly, the plan provides a range of recommendations, and if I could just highlight a couple of those, please, particularly in regards to differential rates. So the differential rate with respect to farming land continues to decrease over the life of the plan from 88.5% to 87%. Commercial land, industrial land and residential land maintained at 100%, and vacant industrial land will increase from 127.5% to 150% over the life of the plan. The plan itself is a method by which Council will consider a range of factors in setting rating policy, and also determines the share of rates each revenue. It determines the share of rates revenue each property will contribute, and addresses also other sources of revenue, including fees and charges, grants and contribution. Madam Deputy Mayor, the recommendation is before you.
Thank you, Mr. Ray. Councillors, the recommendation for the Revenue and Rating Plan. Can I have someone move that recommendation, please? Councillor Makin, do I have a seconder for that? Thanks. Councillor Vogels. Councillor Makin, thank you.
Thank you, and through you, Deputy Mayor. I'm happy that the Council adopts the Revenue and Rating Plan for 2021 to 2025, and I think it's very important that we do highlight, as Mr. Ray has already done, that the different percentage of increases or decreases to the lands. We are a high agricultural land here in the Corangamite Shire, and I think we should be the ones looking after the agricultural industry, because they are the ones that produce the most for our shire. So it's great that that's reducing over the next year or so. But in the vacant industrial land, we want to see that in vacant industrial land be used, and once it is used, then those percentages will come back down. So so it's good incentive to get the vacant land to be used. But other than that, Deputy Mayor, that's all I have to say. So I'm happy to support the recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Makin. Councillor Vogels, please.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I won't go over the same as everyone else. I think it's all been said enough. The question I'm asked the most is, will my rates go up an extraordinary amount with the land prices, farmland increasing in the north and now in the south? So I get asked a lot. So there's a cap on the total rates collected. So unless your property goes up an unproportional amount to everyone else's properties, your rates will just go up 1.5%. is what we've lifted the total rate cap. So if your land's gone up by a hell of a lot and your neighbours hasn't, you'll pay a lot more rates, but somebody will pay a lot less down the road. So that's pretty much how it works. There's no big windfall for the council for the land prices going up. It just moves around who pays the rates. So that's all I've got to say. Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Vogels, with a little smirk on my face with your explanation. Well done. Councillors, any further comments? If not, we'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? Against? That motion's carried. Thank you. Item 9.5, fees and charges policy. Mr. David Ray again. Thanks.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Deputy Mayor. Very briefly, the report recommends Council adopts the fees and charges policy, which is scheduled for review. The policy attached for adoption is dated May 2021. There are no changes recommended to the policy in terms of policy direction, and that direction is to provide, I guess, guidance to Council and Council officers on setting fees and charges. There are some changes with respect to incorporating the requirements of the new Local Government Act recently adopted. And given there are no amendments proposed tonight, the recommendation before you is to adopt and revoke the former policy dated April 2019. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ray. Council's recommendation on page 46. Do I have someone move the recommendation, please? Councillor Macon, seconded by Councillor Cole. Councillor Macon, thanks.
Thank you, and through you, Deputy Mayor, I am quite happy to support this recommendation. It's a very standard and procedural matter, so I'm quite happy for it to go on through. So thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor Macon. Councillor Cole, anything further?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. Nothing further to add. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillors, no further comments. We'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? Against? That motion is carried. Now, just for our listeners, you'll notice there's quite a few policies relating. This only happens once every 4 years for a few, so this is good. It won't be like this every meeting. Lots of reading. Councillors, 9.6, item number, special rates and charges policy. Ms Love, thank you.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Deputy Mayor. The special rates and charges policy sets out how Council implements special rates and charge scheme in a reasonable and consistent manner, and outlines the process for raising contributions from property owners who receive special benefit from infrastructure improvements. The current special rates and charges policy was adopted in 2018 and was due for review. The policy remains relatively unchanged with the exception of one addition, which is for a special charge scheme to come into effect when a total project cost is $15,000 or greater. This has largely been an introduction to the policy to balance the value of administering a special charge scheme against the likely income from the scheme. With the removal of the requirement of a special charge scheme in these instances, the officer's time can be put towards the development and delivery of other items. Councillors, the recommendation is before you.
Thank you, Ms Love. Councillors, can I have someone move that recommendation, please? Councillor Canady, seconded by Councillor Vogels. I got that in, yep. So Councillor Canady, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. As explained by Ms Love, this policy applies the user pays principle by the special charge scheme, which is applied where property owners derive a special benefit from particular works. This has been a successful scheme and has enabled the delivery of footpaths, curb and channel and other infrastructure in our towns and outside residents' homes much sooner than may have otherwise have been possible. As Ms Love explained, the policy's been reviewed and updated, so we've got those key aspects that have been changed, being the $15,000 or greater required before a special charge scheme comes into effect, and a minimum contribution by council of 35%. Consultation with property owners under this scheme continues to be an important element in the process. The scheme has worked effectively and will continue to bring benefits on all sides. So I'm very happy to support the recommendation to adopt the updated policy. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Canady. Councillor Vogels?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Yeah, I haven't got much further to add. Same. The only difference makes it more streamlined and saves the council a lot of time and money to administer something that's cheaper not to administer. Thank you.
That's what we like. Thank you, Councillor Vogels. Any further comments, councillors? No, we'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? Against? Motion is carried. Thank you. Item number 9.7, the Business Facade Improvement Program Policy. Ms Lindley, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. This report proposes to revoke the current Retail Area Facade Improvement Program policy and adopt an updated Business Facade Improvement Program policy to be implemented in the 2021-22 financial year. To date, the program has been successful, with over 120 businesses receiving funding as part of this initiative over the past 6 years. This has led to over $1 million being spent on improvements to business facades throughout the Shire, with the majority of the works being completed by local tradespeople. In brief, the changes to the policy, although minor, do recommend an extension of the types of businesses to be eligible beyond those in strip retail shopping centres and shopping areas in our towns. Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Ms Lindley. Councillors, can I have someone move that recommendation, please? Councillor Macon, seconded. Thanks. Councillor Cole, thank you. Councillor Macon.
Thank you, and through you, Deputy Mayor. Who would have thought this program would still be running 7 years later? It just shows how important this is for the businesses within the Shire, and with over 120 businesses already receiving the funding. And with the change of the criteria for the program to enable businesses located in any of the 12 towns in the Corangamite Shire to be eligible to apply for the program, providing works can be completed are visible from the street in front of the building and meets the set out criteria is a great addition to the program. The aim of the program is to enable businesses located throughout the Shire to complete facade improvements and assist in the beautification of the streetscapes across the Shire, which is important for when visitors visit our Shire and can just see how much time and effort is invested in upkeeping of our shops and stores. So I'm more than happy to support this recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Macon. Councillor Cole?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. Not much to add except that the fact that when you drive into the towns now, they do look neat and tidy, a lot fresher than they did a few years ago, which is a great way to look at a town when you're coming in. The first impressions are very important, and I think it's a big improvement. So it makes the Shire look a lot more vibrant and prosperous.
Thank you, Mr. Cole. Councillor Cole, sorry. Any further comments? No? I'd just like to add, when Councillor Macon said that it's been 7 years, who would have thought? I remember when Officer Rory Neeson helped instigate this project, and it was amazing right from the start up with that one, and then to think that other councils have now replicated what's actually happened here in Corangamite. It's a credit to the staff of Corangamite Shire and obviously the councils before us who have continued to support this program. It was fantastic to get the feedback from other business owners in the community that they too wanted to be able to be able to support this, get some funding out of this program as well. So it was great that the councillors have taken that on board, and obviously the policy has been aligned to better facilitate more businesses in, and not just those that are in the main business precinct. So being able to support even more businesses now is a great thing that we can do, particularly on the following year. We keep going back to COVID, but it is important that everybody deserves to have something positive that they can apply for and have something fantastic come out of it. And the work that does get achieved out of these, out of the facade program particularly is incredible. When you think about that small amount of money that then gets generated into so much more, and it's always usually local people that are the ones that carry out the work. So the spin-off from these projects that actually get delivered isn't just for the those actual business owners themselves, it's actually for the broader community. So it is a fantastic program that we're always happy to support. And I think this change to that policy, now being business facade, is really going to help out a lot of people. So councillors will put that to the vote. Those in favour? Those against? That motion is carried. Thank you. Item 9.8, the Community Satisfaction Survey for 2021. I'm sure our CEO, Mr Andrew Mason, has been waiting for this all night. Mr Mason.
Thank you, and through you, Deputy Mayor. So every year the state government commissions a research company to undertake a survey for councils across the state, and Corangamite Shire is part of that process. This involves phone calls to 400 residents of the Shire. I'm very happy and very proud to say that the results of this year's survey are very, very good, with council's overall performance at a 10-year high, off an already high base. In comparison to other large rural shires and the state average, Corangamite's results are very, very strong. COVID has obviously been a major influence, and pleasingly the community has rated council's efforts in COVID recovery and emergency management as our highest individual areas. Council has also put considerable additional resources into our roads and roadside slashing and weed control, and these areas have had very significant increases over the last year, but will obviously continue to be important areas of focus. So there is a lot of data in here, a lot of information, and the recommendation is that council accept the notes the community satisfaction survey results and makes them available publicly to our community.
Thank you, Mr CEO. Councillors, can I have someone move the recommendation, please? Councillor Cole, I think you were first up, and then Councillor Kennedy second. Thank you. Councillor Cole.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. I'm happy to move this. When we've looked through these figures, as our CEO said, the Karangamite is rating very well, and long may it continue, and long may we keep working towards it, pushing the boundaries even higher. I think it's good to see that we're going in the right direction, but it doesn't mean we rest on our laurels. We keep moving and keep trying to improve all the time in all areas. It's what I'm particularly pleased about is, as I said before, some of the standard, bog standard things that just need to be done. They're being done now. Roads, slashing and general maintenance is keeping going. So congratulations. I'm happy to move this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cole. Councillor Kennedy.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Yes, I think these the results of this survey are just so pleasing, and I feel really proud that Corangamite has performed so well, and performed so well against the large rural shires group, as well as the statewide averages as well. So yeah, that's wonderful news. But as Councillor Cole said, the results, as much as helping us to see where we're doing well, they also show us measures that we might need to focus on a little bit more. And as so often comes up, our roads, whilst they did increase in their rating, they still fell a little below the statewide average, but we still keep trying with our roads. We've got a good monitoring program with them, and a good portion of our budget is spent on the roads every year. I note that there was an increase in the satisfaction from young people in the Shire, and I'm really pleased about that because young people are our future and our decisions are very important for them. We did measure well in the COVID-19 response, and that was due to a huge effort made by the council staff meeting the challenges that this brought along. It's still ongoing, but it seems that the efforts of our council staff have been appreciated by our communities and certainly appreciated by all the members of council because it's been, you know, very draining and huge effort on their part. So, yes, the survey results demonstrate a very good overall performance by council and we're very proud of it. So, yes, I absolutely do support the recommendation to release the report to the public.
Thank you, Councillor Canady. Councillors, any further comments? I'll just mention that these are really impressive results, and as an organisation, as councillors, we should be really proud of our staff particularly. I mean, they're ultimately the ones who do all the delivery. We get to be the ones who help spread the word and get the messages in of what needs to happen and help form the budget and things like that. But at the end of the day, it's our staff that do the doing. The customer service team are the ones who get the complaints and promptly swift into action. And it's testament to our organisation under you, Mr Mason, that we get these impressive results. I mean, year after year, Corangamite Shire has always been in good stead. But following the year that we've had, which has been a really tough year, it's rewarding for everybody involved to see that it's been acknowledged by our community members. And I also want to thank those people that did take the time when they get that phone call to give that feedback. It's easy when we get the phone calls at odd times of night to either hang up or not even answer. But these are significant surveys that are done to help inform our direction of council and how we're performing. And we do get compared to other councils, so it is something that we need to all be proud of and take on board and, Mr Mason, celebrate. So I know that you'll go back and thank and congratulate the staff, as I'm sure you already have, but it is something that everybody does need to be proud of. So thank you, councillors. If we can put that to the vote, please. All those in favour? Against? That motion is carried. Item 9.9, the Quick Response Grants allocation for June 2021. Ms Lindley, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. This report is to consider the June 2021 allocation of funds as part of the Quick Response Grants program, the last allocation for this financial year. Applications for Quick Response Grants are considered as they are received and are assessed against criteria including alignment with the council plan, benefit to the community and eligible expenditure. The annual budget allocation for the program is $17,500. Madam Deputy Mayor and councillors, officers have received 11 applications from the following organisations: the Emu Creek Pony Club, the Corangamite U3A, the Terang Bridge Club, the Terang Mortlake Football Netball Club, the Eklund Public Hall Committee, the Lismore Golf Club, the Camperdown Botanic Gardens and Arboretum Trust, the Robert Burns Scottish Festival Committee, the Cobton Junior Football and Netball Club, the Port Campbell Public Purpose Reserve Committee of Management and the Camperdown Golf Club. Madam Deputy Mayor, the officer's recommendation is before you.
Thank you, Ms Lindley. Councillors, the recommendation is before you on page 79 of the agenda. Can I have someone move that recommendation, please? Councillor Cole, seconded by Councillor Macon. Councillor Cole, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. I think these quick response grants are a wonderful thing that council has. I know a couple of other councillors I've talked to in different shires have asked about them and said that they think they don't have them, and they think they probably should have them because they're a very good way of helping small community groups keep things ticking along and moving at not a lot of expense, especially when things have been a bit tight with COVID. I noticed the 11 people that have applied this time. There's purchase of dressage material, Scrabble and Mahjong, printers, all sorts of different things. So a lot of things qualify to help a small organisation that may not be able to handle, get over the line, getting some of these things, just get there and do the job, make life a bit easier. As I said to one of the hall committees, if a bird breaks a window and you haven't got the money, there's a quick response grant available, you may be able to do it. It's just an emergency fund to help do these small jobs for small organisations. I think they're important to keep going along, and a good way to keep things. I noticed the North have exceeded their budget slightly. The others are a bit short, so the others perhaps should lift their game, and the North could spend a lot more money up there. So anyway, I have no trouble recommending this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cole. I think the other wards have helped you out this time around, so anyway. Thank you. Councillor Macon.
Thank you, and through you, Deputy Mayor. I have not much further to add, but I echo what Councillor Cole has said, and they're great little funds for little community groups that just need that little bit of extra to get them through. So I encourage all groups to apply for these quick response grants, and and perhaps next time we can get some funds off the North Ward. But anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Macon. Any further comments, councillors? Just in these expenses that go out here tonight, as of the 1st of July, Ms Lindley, the fund starts up all over again. So I encourage our local groups to continue to apply for the quick response grants. And if you're unsure on whether you're able to apply or not, just get in touch with the people at the contact with the Corangamite Shire staff, and they can certainly help walk through the process. But yeah, very handy, as mentioned by both previous councillors. Okay, councillors, we'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? Against? The motion is carried. Thank you. Item 9.10, the Corangamite Regional Library Corporation Library Service Level Agreement for 2021 through to 2022. Ms Love, thanks.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Deputy Mayor. Councillors, this report is to endorse the service level agreement between Corangamite Shire Council and Corangamite Regional Library Corporation for the next 12 months. Corangamite Shire provides 5 library branches in the townships of Camperdown, Cobton, Timboon, Terang, Derrinallum, and an outreach library service which did service Skipton and Lismore. With the withdrawal of Warrnambool City Council and Colac-Otway Shires from the corporation effective 1 July this year, the specific services offered by council have been impacted, with the current outreach van and staff member no longer operating, as that will transfer with the Colac-Otway Shire services to the Geelong Regional Library Corporation. The current service level agreement remains largely unchanged, with the exception of an amendment to Appendix B to address the cessation of the outreach service and the housebound services. And we have noted that we will negotiate with council and the corporation to review or implement alternate services over the coming transitional year. We'll work with Lismore and Skipton communities to implement a book depot in Skipton and encourage more use and access to the Derrinallum Library. It's hoped that these services in the north can establish a more sustainable library model and service. And a major factor in the planning over the next 12 months will be to concentrate on the business development, with Corangamite and Moyne establishing a shared service model as of July 2022. This agreement, as Deputy Mayor mentioned, is for 1 July to 30th of June, at which time the corporation will disband, and an opportunity to relaunch library services and refresh our library services will be possible in partnership with Moyne Shire. So in closing, the library service agreement provides a contractual arrangement with the Corangamite Regional Library Corporation for library service provision in Corangamite for its final year. The recommendation is before you.
Thanks, Ms Love. Councillors' recommendation, can I have someone move that recommendation, please? Councillor Canady, seconded by Councillor Macon. Councillor Canady, thanks.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Ms Love explained that situation very succinctly. I know that there's been an incredible amount of work that's gone into ensuring that our library services will continue and that we can provide a very high quality service throughout the Shire, especially as we are in a transitional period since Colac Otway and Warrnambool City Council withdrew from the corporation. So they've come up with an agreement for this transitional phase, and as Ms Love said, there's not very much different to what we've previously had in place. So there's no reason not to support the recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Canady. Councillor Macon.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Mayor. Deputy Mayor, sorry. I don't have much further to add. I'm very happy to support this recommendation, and we all know that libraries are very important within our Shire, so anything to keep them operating and going until we get the transition to the shared service model with the Corangamite and Moyne Shire, I'll be very happy to get this recommendation through, so thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Macon. If there's no further comments, I'm just going to read some words that our Mayor, Councillor Gustrane, has sent through as the Chair of the Library Corporation. It's only fitting that she has her feedback on this particular agenda item as well. So if you can just excuse me for a moment. As Committee Rep and Chair of the Library Corporation, obviously disappointed, the Board is disappointed that the Colac Otway and Warrnambool Shires have decided to leave, but respect that that's certainly their prerogative, and we have known about it for a little while as planning is still underway as to how we transition. Certainly looking forward to the next 12 months in setting up the new shared model with Moyne Shire, with the exception of losing the outreach van, which Ms Love spoke to before. The customers should see very little change in the current library operations. The step forward is setting up the book depot in Copton, which is exciting to help cover the fact that the outreach van unfortunately had to leave that area going back to the Geelong Library Corporation. So hopefully those communities will get behind the project of the book depot. Continue to support our static branches. So this is a reminder everybody out there to support our static branches, being local libraries in Camperdown, Cobton, Terang, Derrinallum and Timboon, and certainly look forward to becoming part of the Public Library Victoria network after the 1st of July 22, which will give much greater access to many more collections that are currently around Victoria. Not sure if listeners out there, but it's extremely cheap to become a library member, and the benefits are amazing in terms of what you can hire. You can have movies. We've got kids at home on school holidays. You can get DVDs. You can have audible books, just amazing books that you don't have to go out and buy yourself. You can just go and hire for such a small, or lend, I should say, that's the correct terminology, lend at such a small rate. So certainly encourage everybody out there to go along to their local library and help support them, because they are incredible tools that we're very fortunate to have in our towns, and we need to use them as much as we can to continue to keep them. We're going to continue to advocate, the board I should say, and us as councils continue to advocate strongly to the state government to keep investing in library services, and it's worth noting that currently they only contribute 28% of the operating costs compared to 69% that Corangamite Shire that we actually have to contribute. So in the past, that has actually been opposite, where we've actually paid the lesser amount and the state government have had more. So over a period of years, that has reversed, and obviously it's not sustainable, and that's why we need to continue to advocate to get that change. So we'll keep making a noise, and I know Councillor Gustrane, our Mayor, is very, very passionate about this, and wherever she gets the opportunity, she will continue to advocate on our behalves, and is very passionate about our libraries. So thank you, councillors. We'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? Against? That motion's carried. Thank you. Item 9.11, the proposed lease renewal for Mount Sugarloaf. Ms Love, thanks.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Deputy Mayor. This report is to consider entering into a new lease agreement for the Mount Sugarloaf Reserve in Camperdown for the purpose of continuing the land management of the site. The existing lease agreement expired in May of this year, and it's now proposed to establish a new 21-year lease agreement with the National Trust for the future management of the reserve. Council staff have met with the CEO of the National Trust of Victoria earlier this year to discuss the possible options for the continued management of Mount Sugarloaf. And at a recent National Trust Board meeting, the Board confirmed that they are supportive of the lease arrangements with Council and have approved the Trust to enter into a new lease agreement. It is proposed the lease agreement be for a period of 21 years to expire 30th of June 2042, and the annual lease fee is $1. Councillors, the recommendation is before you.
Thank you, Ms Love. Councillor, recommendation there. Can I have someone move that, please? Councillor Macon, seconded. Councillor Cole, thank you. Councillor Macon.
Thank you, and through you, Deputy Mayor. This 21-year lease would ensure that the management arrangements of the reserves are secured and that Mount Lura and Mount Sugarloaf Asset Management Committee could continue to manage the reserve. This option will ensure that the reserve is managed appropriately into the future whilst providing opportunities to develop and improve the preservation of the site and visitor experience. Also, with the recommendation that a 12-month termination clause be included in the agreement allows both parties ample of time to find a suitable replacement if the need ever arises, which we hope it doesn't. This new lease agreement will allow the community to continue to have access to continue to develop opportunities to improve the preservation of the site and the visit experience in line with management plans. So I'm more than happy to support this recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Macon. Councillor Cole.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. One of the very unique features of this shire is the lumps we have around it, the mountains, and it's good to see that the Mount Sugarloaf Committee are prepared to look after it and pay their $1 a year. It's not going to fix our roads all that much. It all helps. But they do a wonderful job up there, and it's a credit to them that they do look after it the way they do and maintain it for the future. And people come from a long, long way away to view these things, and we are very lucky to live in such a unique area, to have these hills and mountains in our area that people can look at and admire, because a lot of other places in the world don't have them. So I recommend this. Well, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cole. Any further comments, councillors? We'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? Against? That motion is carried. Now, councillors, I'm going to make an apology on the previous agenda item about the library I spoke about, and the library fees are for the community for free. So I should have remembered that from when I had kids. So if our listeners out there, get along, it's for free, and not very often you get anything for free. So I just wanted to reiterate that, yeah, I'm putting my hand up that I had that wrong. So thank you, and we'll all go out and lend some books for nothing tomorrow. Okay, we'll now move on to item 9.12, the lease agreement, the Cobton Racecourse Reserve Precinct. Ms Love.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Deputy Mayor, councillors. This report is for Council to consider entering into two separate lease agreements for council-owned land located at Cobton Recreation Reserve. One agreement with the Southwestern Model Engineers, and the Rotary Club of Cobton. The current lease was established as one management regime which worked for both of the groups and council at that point in time. Both groups have advised that they will be changing the management structure for this facility, and as the current co-lease arrangement is no longer appropriate, we're looking to review or terminate the existing lease and enter into two new lease agreements to reflect the new management arrangements. Each lease agreement will commence on 1 July 2021, expiring 30th of November 2023, with a further option of 5 years for a proposed amount of $104. The recommendation is before you.
Thank you, Ms Love. Can I have someone, a councillor, please move that recommendation? Councillor Macon, seconded by Councillor Canady. Thank you. Councillor Macon.
Thank you, and through you, Deputy Mayor. Can I just personally say that these two attractions are just fantastic. My kids absolutely love them and adore them. And if we were to lose them, there'd be some very sad children around, and I think parents as well, because it just is a great place to be. But more than happy to support this recommendation with the South West Model Engineers to operate and manage the miniature railway track and associated facilities, while the Rotary Club will operate and manage the mini golf course and associated facilities. And as it was mentioned earlier, that both the clubs are great neighbours and friends, and I am well assured that they will both still work quite well together. And with the co-lease arrangement, the two clubs can concentrate on their own businesses and own interests and everything else, and have a bit more flexibility as to when and how they operate. And it's also great to see that these volunteers within our community who are very passionate and willing to make sure these attractions keep going for many years to come. So I'm more than happy to support this recommendation that we have a lease for both of them. So thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Macon. Councillor Canady.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I can say that my children enjoyed these attractions when they were little, and now my grandchildren are enjoying them. So these photographs that were given to us earlier look very familiar to me, because that's what my children were riding on with when things were just very fresh down there. So obviously management of these facilities has evolved over the years, and as Councillor Macon said, it's a great attraction in the Shire, and obviously they need to reorganise their affairs, and I have no problem either in supporting the recommendation that's been put here tonight.
Thank you, Councillor Canady. Any further comments, councillors? Frank, I'd like to thank you for sticking around first and foremost for the entire meeting to get to this. On behalf of the, I would say on behalf of the transition team, not only as a Rotary Club member, but you've been involved in this project right from the get-go as well. So thank you to you, and if you could pass on thanks to the transition team that have helped put this process in place, and in a manner that has kept such respect for both user groups the way you have. I think it's been, from our perspective, it's been quite smooth of a transition, and as you noted, there's not going to be anything really on the ground that people are going to notice differently, which is a good thing from a community perspective, but it just enables both those community groups now to solely concentrate and do what's in their capabilities. Sometimes we all try to do too much, as you know, and all volunteers and with a passion. So it's great that you can all co-locate, but in a really positive way going forward. I have to say, I've grown up around the place as well, and we're very fortunate. It is a reason why people come to Cobton, and it's because of people like yourselves and the members of the Rotary Club and the South West Model Engineers that have just grown that from what it began to what it is today. Everyone should be so proud. So thank you. If you could please take that back to everybody. I think the lease agreement is something that is beneficial to both groups going forward, and I thank everyone for taking the time to bring this to us, and thank you for providing us with the history of that precinct as well. It's history that everybody involved with should be really super proud of, and certainly look forward to the many years to come. Encourage everybody to still continue to attend not only the miniature trains but the mini golf. They've spent so many hours, particularly during COVID, on that facility, and I think it's still as tricky as what it used to be, but it's certainly bright and freshened up, and encourage everybody out there to get along and support. We've got to continue to keep supporting our community groups in whatever way we can to keep them viable, but also giving people that reason to keep doing what they do as volunteers. It gives everyone that spark when you see people laughing and enjoying themselves, and it's real fun, family-friendly environment. So Good luck going forward, Frank, to everyone involved. And it's just fantastic that, yeah, two groups can still remain functional the way they are and respectful of each other going forward. So thank you. Okay, councillors, we'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? Against, that motion is carried. Item 9.13, contract for the management of the recreation facilities. Ms Love.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Deputy Mayor, this report is to award contract 2022008 management of recreation facilities for council swimming pool facilities for a term of 2 years, commencing the 1st of July this year. The current contract runs out on the 30th of June. The current contract is with YMCA Ballarat Grampians for the management of council's swimming pools and Moyne Shire's swimming pools. In another shared service model, council works with Moyne Shire and have invited tenders from suitably qualified contractors to undertake the management of council's 6 pools and the Mortlake swimming pool. 2 submissions were received. An evaluation panel comprising council officers and Moyne Shire council officers met to evaluate the submissions. The evaluation and assessment is provided in the technical evaluation report under separate cover. The evaluation was undertaken in 2 stages, including a primary evaluation of submissions and a secondary evaluation, which included a reference check and further discussions and request for additional information from the preferred contractor. At this point, a number of options were also discussed to identify opportunities to reduce the overall cost of the contract, including water usage, implementation of a cold weather policy, staffing arrangements and maintenance obligations. And as a result, Council has negotiated and reached an agreement for a tender sum for 2 years of just over $1 million, being $507,852 in the first year and $518,097 in the second year. In 2021-2022, this reflects 12.8% more than budget, and the variation will be proposed to be accounted for as a part of Council's mid-year budget review. Council, the process has been undertaken in accordance with Council's procurement policy, and the recommendation is before you to award the contract to Victoria YMCA Community Programming.
Thank you, Ms Love. Council's a recommendation for that, please. Can I have someone move that motion? Oh, sorry, Councillor Macon. And then Councillor Cole. Just a little bit higher, Councillor Cole. There we go. Councillor Macon, thanks.
Thank you, and through you, Deputy Mayor. I'm very happy to award the contract to Victoria YMCA Community Programming. We all know that after the year we've had, that having a place to meet, see friends and have fun is a great way for our health and well-being. With awarding this contract to Victoria YMCA, I'm confident that the pools are in great hands and they will make sure it's kept in great shape and be a fantastic facility to visit and use. During the tender process, the Victorian YMCA highlighted that there will be mandatory employee training, an induction process and a training and development calendar for all staff, meaning our kids will be in very safe hands. And this was a very key issue that was spoken at great lengths at the recent pool committee meeting that we had. They just really emphasised that they needed lots of staff that were competent in their training, and ongoing training would be great. So I feel with the structure from the Victorian YMCA that our pools are in very capable hands, and I'm more than confident that the Victorian YMCA will do a great job in the next couple of years. So thank you. I'm happy to support the recommendation.
Thanks, Councillor Macon. Councillor Cole, thanks.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. This is not an inconsequential amount of money. It's a lot of money in our budget. But I think pools are a very essential part of community living. They provide fitness for a lot of people, and the learning to swim, which is even more important, I think. So I have no trouble in moving this. It's, as I said, a great way, as Councillor Macon said, to meet people and have fun and enjoy it and get fit and learn to swim. So it ticks a lot of boxes, but it costs the council a lot of money. But I think the rewards are worth it. So I have no trouble. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cole. Any further comments, councillors? I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? Against? That motion's carried. Item 9.14, contract for the provision of plumbing services 2021. Ms Love.
Thank you, through you, Deputy Mayor. Madam Deputy Mayor, sorry. The purpose of this report is to award the contract for the provision of plumbing services to Council for a 3-year period commencing 1 July 2021. Council has undertaken a selective tender process for plumbing contractors to provide these plumbing services to undertake maintenance plumbing work at all of Council's facilities. Generally, contractors are awarded work based on the considerations of location, of urgency of works, the nature of works and contractor availability. We received 5 submissions from experienced and qualified tradespeople. The financial benefit was measured by the estimated cost of 1 hour per job undertaken by each contractor during business hours and incorporating their travel from their base office. It's proposed to award the contract to all 5 contractors and establish a panel of contractors. By appointing multiple contractors across a broad geographic base within the Shire, it's believed that Council can achieve best and better value for money. Councillors, the recommendation is to award to Molan Plumbing and Civil, Murfitt Plumbing, Pool Plumbing, Walsh Plumbing and Warrnambool Emergency Plumbing for the term of 1 July 2021 to 30th of June 2024. The recommendation is before you.
Thank you, Ms Love. Councillors, the recommendation there. Do I have someone move that motion, please? Councillor Vogel, seconded by Councillor Cole. Councillor Vogel, thanks.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. I'd like to accept the officer's recommendation. After selective tender process for plumbing, all 5 tenders submitted have been approved to provide maintenance and emergency plumbing services across the Shire. I think given the length and breadth of our Shire, having multiple contractors is a large advantage for our Shire. These are all well-respected tradesmen and have a proven record of quality workmanship and professional conduct. So I'd like to accept the officer's recommendation. Thank you.
Councillor Cole?
Madam Mayor, thank you.
Anything further, councillors? I'll just say it's always great when you can look down a list and see so many local businesses that are have been identified and have taken the time to put in their tender documents for the procurement process. So it's always, as I said, it's a spin-off for not just us being able to employ locals, but it's the locals that employ their locals as well to help them with their work. So it's always of benefit when we can support our local businesses like this, our trades. We'll put that to the vote, councillors. All those in favour? Against? The motion is carried. And item 9.15, the contract for the provision of electrical services for 2021. Ms Love again, thank you.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Deputy Mayor. In the same vein as the plumbing services contract, this contract is for the provision of electrical services for the period 1 July 2021 to 30th of June 2024 to engage contractors in a panel contract to provide electrical services to the Shire for maintenance work at Council's buildings. 5 submissions have been received and have been evaluated against the criteria by an evaluation panel. On review again of the submissions, it's proposed to engage multiple contractors across the broad geographic area to ensure that Council can achieve best value. It is wise to note that Council is not always necessarily, best value is not always necessarily reflected by the lowest price. Best value can also be achieved through a contractor who is either intimately aware of a facility or property, aware of a specific issue, or can address that matter in a timely manner. Councillors, the 5 contractors recommended to award contract 2 is Dickinson Electrical, Hillec, KMS Electrical, Murford and Whiting Electrical and Walsh Electrical. The recommendation is before you.
Thank you, Ms Love. Councillors, I have someone move that recommendation. Councillor Vogel, seconded by Councillor Coles. Councillor Vogel, thanks.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. Same as the last one, the same as the plumbers, but this one's for the Sparkies, for the fellow Sparkies, because I used to be electrician. So I'm happy to put this through. The same as we've got 5 to cover the Shire, and they're all professional tradespeople with a history of reliability and professional conduct. So I'm happy to support the officer's recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Vogels. Councillor Cole?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. As you said in the last one about being locals and employing locals, it's a very good thing. Keeps the money in the Shire, keeps the Shire ticking along, and I'm more than happy to endorse it. Thank you.
Couldn't have said it any better myself. Thanks, Councillor Cole. Any further comments, councillors? We'll put that one to the vote. All those in favour? Against? That motion is carried. Councillors, now move on to item 10, which is other business. Do I have any councillors bring any other business to the table tonight? No, we'll move on to open forum, which I don't believe we've got anyone left here, so we'll say thank you to those that were here tonight during the meeting. We have no confidential items, so I'll now close the meeting. Thank you to our listeners that have stayed on track tonight, which included our Mayor. So thank you to everyone for joining us tonight, and stay safe. Thank you.